He had no college degree, no wealthy family, no powerful connections, no safety net. What he had was a single flat-bottomed ferryboat and the stubbornness of someone who simply refused to stay small. By the time he died, Cornelius Vanderbilt was worth roughly $100 million, at a time when the entire U.S. federal budget barely reached $300 million. Think about that for a second. One man, one boat, an empire stretching from the harbor waters of New York to railroad lines cutting across half a continent. How does something like that even happen? Vanderbilt was born in 1794 on Staten Island. His family was working class. His father ran a small ferry across New York Harbor. No silver spoon, just salt air and hard work. He dropped out of school at 11, not because he was lazy, because he was restless. By 16, he had borrowed $100 from his mother to buy his own boat. That single decision launched one of the most extraordinary careers in American history. He started ferrying passengers and cargo between Staten Island and Manhattan. He worked longer hours than anyone around him, undercut rivals on price, and reinvested nearly everything he earned. People began calling him the Commodore, partly as a joke, partly out of genuine respect, because even back then people could sense something different about him. He moved beyond simple ferries quickly. He learned the steamboat industry from the inside out. Then he did what he always did. Once he understood something well enough, he competed hard, and he won. He slashed fares until established players couldn't keep pace. When the dust settled, he controlled the routes: study, compete, dominate. That was the Vanderbilt playbook, and it never once failed him. In the late 1840s, gold was discovered in California. Thousands of Americans were desperate to get there fast. Vanderbilt saw the moment clearly before most others did. He designed a new route through Nicaragua that cut 2 full days off the journey to the West Coast, faster and cheaper than anything the competition was offering. He built an Atlantic and Pacific steamship line that made him extraordinarily wealthy. Most men his age were quietly thinking about slowing down. Vanderbilt was building faster than ever. He wasn't chasing comfort, he was chasing scale. And he had the discipline to match his ambition, a combination that is genuinely rare in any era. Here is where the story gets truly remarkable. Vanderbilt was already in his 60s when he made the biggest pivot of his career. He sold off much of his shipping empire and turned his full attention to railroads. Most people thought it was a strange move. Railroads at 60? But Vanderbilt saw something his critics completely missed. Railroads were about to become the circulatory system of an entire nation. Whoever controlled the routes controlled the economy. He began acquiring railroad companies, the New York and Harlem, the Hudson River Railroad, then the mighty New York Central. He consolidated them, modernized them, and turned them into one of the most powerful transportation networks America had ever seen. He also built Grand Central Depot in New York City, the direct ancestor of the iconic Grand Central Terminal that still stands today. It wasn't just a train station, it was a monument to the idea that infrastructure is power. Whoever moves people and goods moves the world. When Vanderbilt died in January 1877, he left behind an estate worth roughly $100 million, the largest private fortune ever recorded in America at that point. He also donated a significant sum to found Vanderbilt University in Nashville, a university that still carries his name nearly 150 years later. People never stopped debating whether men like Vanderbilt were genuine visionaries or simply bullies with capital. And that conversation has never really gone away. When you come across something like Jeff Bezos snaps at reporter over tough questions on worker mistreatment, you're watching a very old argument play out in modern clothes. What it truly costs society when one person accumulates that kind of power. Vanderbilt's workers felt that cost. His rivals definitely did. And still, the empire kept growing. Vanderbilt's story is not a clean, comfortable one. He was aggressive, often ruthless, and not especially interested in being liked. But he also built things that genuinely outlasted him. Railroads, institutions, and infrastructure that shaped a nation for generations. That is the complicated truth about many of the people who actually changed history. They were flawed, and they were consequential, often in the very same breath. If this story resonated with you, take 2 seconds. Hit like and subscribe. More stories exactly like this one are on their way, built from belief.